Hey, 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 happy healing and becoming. Thank you guys so much for joining us for yet another episode of Healing and Becoming, where you guys already know what we do. We stand on 5 corners. We believe in the power of lifting as you climb, turning your trials into treasures, living a life to inspire and not impress, opening up and allowing God to fully restore you, and loving as if you've never been hurt. With the climate of our world and just the way life is, there is a word that really feels like a bad word these days. But today, I really want to dive into the topic of accountability. I feel like if more people took accountability for their stuff, we would not have so many issues that arise every day. I believe that today's guest is going to really be dynamic in bringing that thought of accountability to the podcast. My guest, Karen, is a amazing psychotherapist that believes in transformation and self-discovery. She is a seasoned therapy. She's not new to this, y'all. She is true to it. She has coined her own methodology, the KG accountability therapy method. And her approach focuses on radical truth telling, emotional regulation, and building self worth after burnout. I am super excited about this because I know the TWT listeners can truly, truly relate to the conversation that Karen is going to bring to the table. So, without further ado, hey sis, you have a minute?
Hey sis, you got a minute? Hey sis, you got a minute? Hey sis, you got a minute? Hey sis, you got a minute?
Thank you so much. What a great introduction. I always love it, because when you hear somebody say it back to you, like what you've done in your life and where you've come from and what you're trying, how you're trying to, contribute to the world being a better place. It's great. But thank you for that. Yes, so Karen Goslin, I'm a psychotherapist. I'm here in Toronto, Canada. I've been running my private practice since 98 and over the years have really refined my approach. And yes, accountability is the word that I deal with, that I really lift off from. My accountability to my clients, because when people come to my door, there's been a struggle usually for many, many years.
Mm,
So I owe it to them. I am accountable to my clients to tell them the truth,
mm,
always from a place of love. But people get in their own way for very good reasons. And people find it refreshing. We live in a world where there's a lot of awareness and a
mm.
lot of people can make those connections. They just don't know what to do about it. So my accountability is first and foremost to my client to find a way to deliver the honest truth about where they got stuck, how they got stuck, and what to do about it. And then I challenge my clients to be accountable to themselves.
Mm.
I know it's about a little bit every day. I said to a client earlier today, I said, I'm not going to give you homework that's more than 5 minutes, but it's going to be something you do every day. And we have a whole, bandwidth of tools and strategies to draw on. But
Mm.
it's about those daily brain, exercises for the ability to think differently, to regulate difficult emotions, and to dig deep.
Mm.
So if you want change, it's that pure dedication. But it starts from that place of we've all dug in ourselves into holes. We've
Yeah,
all got stuck in certain ways for good reasons. So my
yeah.
accountability to my client is about the truth, and I help them be accountable to themselves because they deserve better. They deserve to
Mm.
stop suffering unnecessarily. They need to figure out how to get out of their own way because they keep getting in their own way for good reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you brought in teaching them. Are you showing them accountability and then teaching them how to be accountable to themselves? I think so often I teach my clients one of the reasons, people love to talk about boundaries and boundaries this and boundaries this. You cannot have boundaries without accountability. And at first, I feel like the first set of boundaries is self accountability. So once you're accountable to yourself, then it's really easy to implement and have people hold your boundaries because you've done it with yourself. It really comes down to a place of trusting. The reason why folks are not accountable to themselves is because there's a lack of trust in self. So getting them to that place and doing it in love, it doesn't have to be. I think people think accountability, when we hear that word, we think about like a diet or something, and then like there's somebody telling you what you can and cannot do, but that's not always what it is, right? Wouldn't you agree?
That's right. I heard something the other day that said, some of that self discovery or self empowerment isn't so much about finding worthiness, it's about letting go of the things that made you feel unworthy that
Mhm.
weren't really yours. And I
Mm,
heard that, and I'm like, first of all, I'm like, well, I don't know. I think you do need to find worthiness. But then I thought that's so true because a lot of the process we go through with clients is about correcting the inaccurate narratives, because
yeah.
whatever imperfect experiences we've had where somebody's hurt us or betrayed us or we lost something or we were traumatized or abused, in those overwhelming states of pain, humans want to make it fit. We do not like cognitive dissonance. So we need to make
Yeah.
it fit. How do we make it congruent when we're in
Mm,
those overwhelmed states? We will make it fit, but we will make it fit inaccurately. And most of us, when we make those painful experiences fit inaccurately, we will absorb something about ourselves that isn't true. I'm
mm,
not good enough. I deserved it. Something's wrong with me. And all of these pieces that we carry with us for a long time. So, only in my opinion, until we go back and correct those narratives, we will carry that with us and project it onto current circumstances to make things fit. But again, we'll do it in inaccurate ways and we will be sabotaging or underperforming.
100%. I just recently had a client that was like in her 60s, and she had never done like inner child stuff. And I said, well, that's why these patterns keep happening. Tony Robbins has come up or coined this thought of like pattern interruption. And it starts with us going, you have to go all the way back to see where the habit was first formed. You
Right.
you brought up a word and a term that I absolutely like. This is like music to my ears right now. I love this.
Singing together, sister.
Yes. Cognitive dissonance. And I think especially with like the influx of social media, and there's so many people that are on social media spreading the gospel of mental health, and a lot of it is sometimes off, right? There's not a lot, some things are not, there's not truth to it. That term cognitive dissonance, I absolutely love and adore that thought process, because I think that we have to get to a place of cognitive dissonance for there to be true change. Can you really explain what that term means, what it looks like?
Sure. Yeah. So as I said earlier, when we're in overwhelmed states and we can't make sense of it, whether we're being abused, whether we're being traumatized, betrayed, whatever that painful is, our brain is incapable at that moment of making sense of everything that is happening in front of us. So when the dissonance occurs and our brain and we're uncomfortable with it, we will make it fit. But because we're overwhelmed, we will make it fit in inaccurate ways and we will
Mm,
draw on even inaccuracies from the past. So this is what I call in the work that I do in the KG accountable therapy method as core beliefs. So
mm,
we understand the wounded self and the healthy self, and both parts of self have core beliefs about self, others, life, and love. And
mhm.
nobody sits us down and go, okay, like Tanika, this is what you're going to believe. It happens unconsciously. It's running in the background. We don't
Yeah.
even know it's happening. We
Mhm.
don't even know what we've absorbed, and then we're projecting it onto current circumstances. So, a
Yeah.
big part of the deeper hurt, I call it the heart surgery part of our programs. We have the head and we have the heart. But in the heart surgery, it's like, let's go back and deconstruct this.
Mm.
Where were you hurt?
Yep.
How were you hurt? And how did all of these experiences shape your core beliefs in those four areas?
Yep.
And we will begin to connect. I do this at the end of the first session. Not that we identify all the core beliefs, but my job My accountability is to take what I'm understanding my clients have been through, where they've been hurt, and how is that translating into how they're sabotaging themselves now. So if I have a core belief something's wrong with me, right? Some people will ride the aggressive side of the wound. And if I don't feel good enough, I'm going to be aggressive and fighting with people. Other people will ride more of the passive side and go, well, I don't feel I'm good enough. So I'll hold back, I'll retreat, I'll
Mhm.
shut down, I'll underperform. So it's these core beliefs that drive that are representations of that dissonance.
Yes.
That's kind
Yes.
of that's your platform.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that will be the driving force.
I
So
once heard someone say, how you were wounded determines how you are wired. So you're like where you're wounded dictates your wiring and how you, and I was like, that's such a powerful way of saying that for folks, just knowing that, and you have to go back. People don't want to look back, and there's people that say, oh, don't look into your past. You have to go back so we can uncover. You call it heart surgery. I call it root work. And what I do, I'm like, we got to pull up those roots. We got to get to
right,
the root
that's
issue.
right. That's right.
Yes. So,
That's because yes, it is so the neural pathways are changed,
mm,
are absolutely changed by the painful experiences and by the incredibly healthy, happy experiences, right? That's what tells us what we like, what we don't like. And because our histories are all unique, what bothers me is going to be different than what bothers you or how
mm,
it bothers us. And so
mhm.
this is where a lot of judgment can break down a lot of relationships, because when we're vulnerable and I don't understand why what's hurting you hurts you but doesn't hurt me, then we will get into a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
If the judge takes over and protects our vulnerability. So
Mm,
constructing all of that, not just to visit the past. So the accountability I give is not just visiting, but we have to reframe the past and we have to have takeaways. So I do
mhm.
what's called circuits of healing, because old school psychotherapy was like, get your clients to cry and they'll have cleansing cries and everybody will feel better, but you'll only feel good for a couple of hours, maybe a day.
Mhm.
Nothing changes. If you're going into therapy or having coaching, you're there because something isn't working in your life. You
Yeah.
make a change. So it's
Yeah.
not just visiting the past, it's reframing the past, but then having clear takeaways of
Mhm.
what you're going to do different when you wake up tomorrow morning.
Yes.
You don't have that nugget, that conversation is just going to float away. And you're going to maybe remember, oh, that great conversation I had, but nothing changed.
Nothing changes. It's like this emotional high, and I think that therapists, coaches do their clients a disservice when they don't have those hard conversations, when they don't correct in love, and when they don't cause their I have homework too. My clients, when they come in, they're like, "Wait, what?" And I'm like, "Yes, because you have to do the work. I
Yes.
can help you process. We can talk through all of this, but you have to do it, and this only works if you work it." You have decades of experience doing this type of work, and I can't even believe it because you only look like you're 30, you know what I'm saying? So for the years of experience you have gathered, you've done like some it sounds like data collecting, and you have really created this methodology, the KG approach. Where did that like spark? Where did that come from? And you said, "Oh my gosh, I need to put this on paper," which then led to this beautiful book that you have written.
Thank you. Yeah. I think part of it was my own personality. A lot of it was the education I had about very good evidence-based therapeutic approaches where we change our thoughts, where we dedicate to self-care. And when I put it all together in terms of like how things worked for me, what I learned about the approaches, but more than anything, it's about my own personal experience of hitting rock bottom and
Mm,
not giving up and then building myself up and I applied all of the methods that I was already teaching, but I refined them because when I had firsthand of experience, whether it was working through my grief, recovering my internalized wounds around control and worthiness, whether it's my cognitive behavioral therapy program, I created change. All of these things I started working at myself, and I could see how effective it was.
Mm.
And after hitting rock bottom, after having, failed relationships, failed health, a major break in my career, and then my divorce, it was like game over for me.
Mhm.
And I just wanted to give up. I couldn't even bear the pain I was in. And when I talk to a lot of people about this, right, it's like we all have our own version of how we got in our own way, and we
Right.
kept sabotaging, and it kept getting persistently, repetitively, sorry, worsening pain. And then it's the wake up, right?
Mm.
The universe is telling us what you've absorbed isn't right. You're carrying something that isn't yours. And
Yeah.
we keep getting messages. Like for me, it was my health. It was pushing people away that I cared about. Why was I'm a smart woman. How could I keep doing this? So when I firsthand had the wake up and then applied some of the methods, I'm like, okay, I am really onto something. So I shared my own personal story with my daughter about 5 years ago because she had known me to be this, like, kind of like strong, independent woman. But I'm like, well, I'm going to give you the backstory. And she actually, I think she was about 21 at the time. She goes, Mom, you need to write a book.
Wow.
And that's honestly, I thought, you know what? I knew I was improving the methods I was using with clients. I knew what had happened for me where I didn't just not give up, but I really like built a life I would never have even imagined before.
Mhm.
And then I said, you know what? Maybe it's time to share it with a bigger audience. So honestly, it became my passion project.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And what better validation? I know we don't live a life to seek validation, but what better validation than your own child, right? I know I'm onto something when my kids say, "Oh, that was good," right? I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Okay, that was
yeah.
really
They're
good."
going to be honest with us, right? They're going to tell us what they think. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you have, it's undeniable, this beautiful, bright yellow flower that you're wearing
Yes,
is
I
has
think
has really become a symbol of the book that you have written. I would love for you to tell the TWT family a little bit more about your book. And
yeah, well, just happen
yes.
to have a copy, so, I've got a little poster behind me, yet. So it's a little glossy here. Yellow paint, learning to live again. So this follows my story, and yellow paint has a literal meaning in the first chapter that explained when I hit rock bottom. But really, it became a broader metaphor, inviting all the readers to find their own yellow paint based on the premise that when you hit that blackness and you keep
Mm,
coming back to it, there is a way out.
yeah.
I said, for me, somebody was literally coming to paint a room in my house yellow. And that may sound completely silly. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Really was like I just stopped for a minute and went, well, it was my parents coming the next day to paint this room. And I'm like, so if I give up now, like, what does that look like? And it
Mm,
gave me pause. And
mm,
then it wasn't just the pause, it was like, I don't think this is where it ends.
mhm.
And then it was getting behind the power of not giving up to actually go back and do the work. And I
Yeah.
realized I was carrying things that didn't belong to me. And when I got behind the power of that, everything started clicking. But I also believe in here and now strategies. Like CBT's been around for years. I still think it's the gold standard. All of
Yep.
my clients, including myself, will do a quick 5-minute CBT every day because we will have things in our life that we didn't like, expect, or want. And some of that will thematically overlap with where our wound is. So it's that combination. The learning to live again, obviously, that was about the story of like when you correct those narratives, I always say there's like a whole life that's waiting for you. Your healthy self is
Mhm.
literally waiting for you,
Literally.
carry you forward. Every chapter is a song. Every chapter is introduced with lyrics. I got 9 of the 12 songs copyrights too. So we're
What?
so proud of that. We're heading back down to Los Angeles to release our audiobook. We just finished the production of that. And we're just thrilled. So there's a story.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait for I am an audiobook girly. So when that comes out, I cannot wait to get my hands on that. There is I often say this work calls you, right? We don't
Oh yeah.
there it definitely does, right? Like I know that most people you can go to school to be a therapist, you can go to school to get credentials, you can go to school, but there has to be a lived experience. And once you live it and you work it, it becomes part of your DNA. And
Oh
you
yeah.
know that this works because it worked for you. I am so happy that you pulled yourself out, that you painted that yellow room, and that you are here to tell the story because you have created legacy for yourself and for many other women to be able to, and men and folks to grab
Yes.
this
Yeah.
book and be able to see hope in your story. I would love for our TWT family to connect with you on your socials or on your website. How can they get in contact with you?
Sure. Well, we are at KarenGoslinSpeaks.com. That's our website for the book. So that'll give you all the information of where I'm speaking and where the book is getting released. And we're going back down to Los Angeles, like I said, for the audiobook. KarenRSW.com. That's our main website for our private practice. And I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. You'll find all my handles there at Karen Goslin Speaks.
Awesome. Well, TWT family, we will have all of her links in the show notes. It has been an absolute pleasure this Tuesday chatting with you and really pushing this vision that you have probably had for many years, helping it further come to life. I haven't done this in a while, but I just feel it called, I just feel it in my spirit. So I'm going to ask you this closing question that I sometimes ask my guests. And what does living a life to inspire and not impress mean to you?
You're living life for yourself. You're being
Mhm,
your best version of you. You're not actually performing. You are living your truth. You are living from an authentic self. So you are inspiring yourself as much as you are inspiring others. Because where there's growth, there's hope and there's inspiration. And that
mm,
is true freedom. And I think that's where we are most happy. When we can just truly be ourselves, our best versions of ourselves, because we've corrected those narratives. And that's freedom. And to
yeah,
me, that's the best place to be. So you're not doing it for any purpose outside of you. You are filling yourself up from within,
mm,
and that is inspiring to yourself, and that will like illuminate all the inspiration around you. So but you cannot be in that place when you are stuck in what I call the dirty tricks or the dirty deals of the wounded self.
mm,
That is about immediate gratification, that is about indulgence,
mm,
and that tricks you every time, and that will dilute or cover up all of that inspiration. So
that's
it's
good.
about outwitting the tricks of the wounded self to figure out who you really are and who you were really meant to be.
Yeah.
That's the inspiration of authentic living.
Yes, TWT family, that is a good place for us to land this plane. Clean up that dirty self, clean up that wounded self,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
you so you can truly live that life to inspire. Thank you all so much for joining us for yet another episode. Remember to like this podcast, remember to share it with someone that needs that spark of inspiration, that needs that hard truth and that accountability. Send this podcast over to them. Make sure you to like us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and over on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and like and share this episode. Make sure you guys go over and follow Karen on everywhere that you, all of her links that are in the show note. Order the book, you all. Get this book in your hand. We want to make sure that this beautiful message is pushed out to as many people as possible. Remember to live a life to inspire and not impress. Lift as you climb. Turn those trials into treasures. Open up and allow God to fully restore you, and love yourself and others as if you've never been hurt. If you are looking for a powerful membership, make sure you click the link in my show note for the Becoming Her membership, where we are over here healing and building. Until next week, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.